Since ancient times, the tiger has been called the king of the jungle. The title is well-deserved, as the tiger is the top predator in the forest. It preys on deer, wild boar, sloth bear, and other animals. Nothing seems to scare this beast. So what's all the fuss about? Is there anything that tigers fear? You will be surprised to hear that the king of the jungle is afraid of things even his roaring cannot frighten away. We'll tell you in a minute. You might be surprised. What do tigers fear? Humans. That's right. The greatest threat to tigers isn't some other animal, but guns, traps, and habitat destruction caused by humans. There are other dangers posed by human activity, such as cars, motorcycles, trains, and electric poles. Tigers tend to avoid roads where there is a lot of traffic. Also, they rarely attack people unless provoked. Some studies show that tigers usually avoid areas with human scent, noise, or other signs of activity. A tiger will most likely run from a human rather than fight him. Tigers have excellent hearing and smell, so it's better not to enter their territory unnoticed. Even experienced hunters try to sneak up to their prey and use every trick to get close to the beast without being noticed. However, despite their reputation for being fierce predators, tigers can be surprisingly gentle, especially when it comes to humans. A tiger can even become tame and affectionate if raised from a cub. In any case, humans are the biggest enemies of tigers. Tigers kill people very rarely. They can defend themselves. Most often it happens when the animal is provoked or feels threatened. Fire. Like most wild animals, tigers are extremely cautious and fearful of fire since it's a direct, uncontrollable danger. People use fire to keep tigers away. Ancient Chinese used to make circles of fire to protect themselves against tigers during religious ceremonies. There's even an old legend that says that Buddha once saved a woman from a tiger attack by turning himself into a tiger and scaring the beast away. By the way, in ancient times, people in India and China used drums, gongs, and firecrackers to scare off tigers. Can you imagine a tiger running away from a huge bongo? Today, loud noises can also scare away tigers, so fireworks and loud music can make them flee. In general, tigers prefer to stay away from humans. They don't like sudden movements and strange objects. And if they come across a person in the forest, they will try to bypass him. However, if the animal feels threatened, it can attack and even hunt a person. Huge rivals. Despite the fact that the tiger is a predator, it rarely attacks adult elephants, rhinos, or large bears because these animals are too strong and dangerous. There are cases when tigers attacked elephants, but most often it happened when the tigers were sick or there was no prey around. Usually, a tiger doesn't stand a chance against an elephant. Tigers are also unlikely to mess with a hungry polar bear. Bears are known to be good swimmers, while tigers prefer to stay on land. Therefore, a meeting between a tiger and a bear usually ends with the tiger losing. But there are exceptions to every rule. In 2013, a tigress from the Indian state of Sundarbans killed a crocodile while protecting her cubs. Tigers usually don't attack rhinos because rhinos are strong and sharp-horned animals. Plus, tigers have an instinct that tells them rhinos aren't worth the risk. It's a kind of self-preservation mechanism. However, if the tiger is hungry and has no choice, it can attack anyone, even a hippopotamus. The only problem is that after a fight with a rival, the tiger could end up losing its teeth or getting seriously injured. But tigers are agile and fast, so they can dodge an opponent's attacks. So if the tiger manages to dodge the enemy's main attack, it has a chance to win. Cornered, a tiger will fight anyone, be it a bear, a rhino, or a hippo. But usually its instinct tells it to avoid fights with giants. After all, the tiger will have to answer for each of its actions. And not everyone can afford to go to jail. Hunger and loss of territory. This one isn't exactly a fear, more like a lack of alternatives. If a tiger loses its territory or source of prey, it will eventually die of hunger. Tigers need a lot of food to survive. An adult tiger eats 30 pounds of meat per week. If the tiger doesn't get enough to eat, it becomes aggressive and can attack humans. Of course, There are much fewer animals in the artificial reservoirs created by humans than in natural ones. Therefore, tigers suffer from hunger more often. Tigers also suffer from a lack of territory. Poachers and farmers take away the habitats of tigers. This leads to a decrease in their numbers. When tigers lose their homes, they wander around the area looking for a place to live. Sometimes they can travel hundreds of miles until they find a new home. Tigers that leave their usual hunting grounds die most often because they can't find enough prey there, or they get killed by poachers who want to sell their skins. So tigers are afraid of hunger and thirst, but they won't admit it. Tigers are smart enough to understand that if they don't do something to change the situation, they will simply die. Tigers can go for days without water, but they need to drink at least once a week. Otherwise, dehydration can cause death. Tigers try to compensate for the lack of water in their usual diet. Many animals, including tigers, instinctively avoid thirst, realizing that it's fatal. Lack of food and water can lead to death. But tigers are predators, and they can't survive without meat. While herbivores can eat plants, tigers can't survive on berries, grass, or roots. Although tigers are born hunters, sometimes they just can't find prey. Then the tigers have no choice but to wait until prey appears or until they are rescued by caring people. Often tigers suffer from hunger in zoos. Zoo employees try to enrich the animals' diet, but it's not always possible to give them fresh meat every day. Sometimes tigers have to eat dry food. Zoo workers notice that tigers are afraid when they run out of food. Tigers don't like the feeling of hunger, so they try to get more food next time they're fed. Sometimes zoo staff have to hide from the tigers until feeding time is over. So don't think tigers aren't afraid of anything. They have their own worries and problems. The king of the jungle still fears, not because he is weak, but because he knows where real danger lies. His strength makes him the top predator, but his survival instinct makes him wary of humans, fire, and overly powerful rivals. Tigers are smart enough to realize that sometimes it's better to give in to their fears than to face the danger head-on. That is all for now. Thank you and see you later.